Hello everyone and welcome to the Den. Today we're going to be making it's going to be chicken and dumpling soup, but it's going to be how I make it. Maybe different from other recipes, I don't know. I kind of just wing it, but we're going to try to get a little bit more technical so that we have measurements today, so that when my daughter or any of my kids want to make this when they move out, they'll have a video to follow and measurements to go by. So this is also going to kind of fall into the category of how to use what you can, sort of. I'll give you some alternatives on how to make this, but today it's just going to be a recipe in my recipe playlist, because I am going to use something that I've canned, but I'll tell you about that in a minute. So if you want to see how I do this, stick around. Okay, so I have my ingredients that I'm going to get started with over here, and I'm just going to start with some chicken breasts, and I have a couple jars of mirepoix, I think that's how you say it. It's just celery, onions, and carrots canned and jarred together. I didn't do a video for this because there is canning guidelines for onions, there's canning guidelines for carrots, but there's not for celery. Now, I know you can can them because they're in other recipes, like my chicken soup base, or, you know, there's other ones out there that I put celery in. But I think maybe because celery just tends to lose its color, so maybe it's not as, I don't know, doesn't look good canned? I have no idea. But for me, I know it's safe to can. So when I did can this, I went with the highest set temperature, or the highest time frame that I could find with any recipe that had celery in it. So anyway, I'm going to do 2 pints of mirepoix. Now, if you did not have this on hand and you wanted to add onions, celery, and carrots, I like to sweat my onions first, so I would start with that, and then you would add your broth and stuff in, your liquid, and then just throw in the raw carrots and celery, and they're gonna cook, because I'm gonna let this cook for all day. So I'm gonna get this started and I'll show you how I do it. Okay, so you can see here I got my 2 pints in here, which is a quart of my mirepoix, and I'm gonna get the heat started. I'm gonna set it to medium for now. I'm gonna add my chicken next, and then I'm gonna do a liquid level line that I think is appropriate. Okay, so I added my chicken into here, and I put a gallon of water in it. I do not have any more bouillon cubes. I thought I did downstairs, but I didn't, so I'm just gonna use this. I don't know what this is. It's like not in cubes. I don't even know how it's this stuff. So I'm gonna use that. So I'm gonna go ahead and add this in there. I'm gonna do about 4 tablespoons. That would be equivalent to 12 teaspoons. I'm gonna see how it tastes, and then once this comes up to temp, I'm gonna go ahead and do 1 more. You can always add more water if it's too much. I'm just basically cooking the chicken right now. So I'm also gonna add a little bit of oregano. I just used like 3 or 4 chicken breasts in here. And I'm gonna sprinkle some oregano on top, not too much, like that. And then I'm going to do I'll just use my granulated garlic. And it already has onion in it, so we're pretty good for now. And I will add a little bit of pepper. I'm not a huge fan of black pepper. You can always add this when you're serving, to your own taste. I'm gonna put a little in there. And that's it. And I'm going to put the lid on this. And I'm gonna let this boil. Once it comes to a boil, I'm gonna turn it down to like a medium or medium low, somewhere in between there, to keep it at a simmer. because I want this chicken to get tender. So it's 12:30 right now. I'm gonna let this cook all day, and then the dumplings will come later on. I'm gonna throw some ingredients in the bread maker, and I have other things I have to get done today, so I'm just gonna let this do its thing. And I'm definitely cheating on the bread and putting it in the bread maker because it's so much easier. So I will see you when it is time to do the next step. Okay, so I have tasted my broth here, and this has been cooking for about 4 hours. And so I just, take a little spoonful and give it a taste. It tastes good. It tastes good right now, but this is not enough liquid to have for the dumplings. So I'm probably gonna add in, I have to make a really big pot because everyone in the family really loves this, so I make extra. If you were only doing like 1 serving of dumplings or a serving and a half, this would be plenty, but for us this is not gonna be enough. So I'm gonna go ahead and add more broth to my pot. And all I did with the chicken in here was I just took my spoon and I kind of just chopped at it because it just is falling apart now. It's been in here for so long. So you can see here, I just have these bigger chunks. I actually think this was chicken thighs, not chicken breasts, but either way, it doesn't really matter to me. So you can see there, I'm just gonna leave them in big chunks like that. You can pull the chicken out and shred it completely if you want to. Sometimes if you're making, if you started with the whole chicken, then this would be the time that you're gonna debone that chicken. You can throw a whole chicken in there and cook it like that, and then to just remove the bones and all the stuff you don't want to keep in there. But I just started with, I think these are actually chicken thighs like I said, and that's totally fine with me. I'm not partial to breasts or thighs. I didn't mark the bag, so I kind of knew it could have been thighs. Anyways, so I'm gonna add more water, bring this up to a boil, or more stock, I'm sorry, and bring it up to a boil because I'm gonna start the dumpling making process here very soon because they do take some time to get done, and especially with as many as I have to make. So I'm gonna do that now. Okay, so I have all my stuff kind of set out here. I'm gonna do this in with the exception of one thing. Okay, now I have everything. I have a pastry cutter here. You can use, if you're doing a small batch, you could use like 2 knives if you don't have one of these, or fork. But I am working with cold butter, so this is really handy. I use it all the time. So what you're gonna need is pastry cutter or something that you can, crumb this into the flour with, the butter, your rolling pin, milk, salt, and flour, okay? And flour. So we're gonna start off with, I'm gonna start off with 4 cups of flour. If you need to reduce this amount, that's totally fine. I'm gonna see if I need to add more butter into this as I am mixing here. This isn't perfectly even, but so it's close enough. So I'm gonna start with 4. And then I'm gonna put all of my whole stick of butter in there. Miles. Sorry, my son's being loud. Put my whole stick of butter in here. And salt. You should do the salt before the butter, but that's okay. It's not that big of a deal. Yeah. Whoa. Alright, and then I'm just gonna start working in this butter with my pastry cutter. Okay, so after you've kind of chopped it up, the butter into there, then you just want to take your hands and start crumbling this so that that butter and the flour are really mixing. It's going to be very, very crummy, like a crumbly, because the butter's still kind of soft. So, and don't wear any clothes that you're going to be wearing out for the rest of the day if you're doing this, because you will get, it is kind of a dirty job. Or if you have an apron, I don't have an apron, so I'm just gonna go with my t-shirt. This is just an old t-shirt, so I don't mind. And I'm just gonna keep working this until I don't have any more big chunks of butter. And it's kind of feeling right now like I might need more butter, but I always kind of just keep going until I know for sure if I'm gonna need more or not. Okay, so I added another cup of flour and another stick of butter. So we're at 5. It's probably close to 5.5 cups of flour per 2 cups or 2 sticks of butter. So I know mine's ready when I can do that and it clumps and you can kind of break it apart. So I'm good with this right now. So I'm gonna start adding my milk. Don't wear rings if you're doing this because they will get caked up with this dough. So don't forget to take your rings off. So now I'm gonna start adding the flour. The milk, I'm sorry. And I'm gonna do the whole cup of milk because I'm pretty sure I'll need more than that. And then I get a sturdy fork and I just start mixing. And this is gonna be more of a wet dough. And then as you're mixing this, you're just looking for like a wet dough. And I'm gonna just add little bits until I get the consistency I want. So that was probably about a 1/4 cup. So that's probably about another 1/4 cup. And then once it's kind of wet looking, I'll go in with my hands and just kind of give it a mix. Okay, so once you've got your dough to about the consistency you want it, and it's like a sticky-ish pizza dough type, almost feeling dough, you're gonna take some flour and you're gonna turn it out onto a floured surface. My hands are really gooey and I just do a little bit at a time. I'm just gonna put that on there and I'm just gonna roll it top and bottom because it's still gonna be sticky. And I like to take some flour and kind of rub it on my rolling pin too because my rolling pin is wood. I've had it forever, so I'm gonna set this aside. And I just work a little bit of the dough at a time. And I just flip it over sometimes if I think it's necessary, and if it's sticky in spots, I'll just add a little flour to it. If it gets stuck, then you just gotta get a little flour on the underneath of it. And it doesn't have to be pretty. We're just gonna cut this up. So once you get it to the desired thickness that you want, which I'd say it's, it's very thin, then you're gonna get your pizza cutter or whatever you want to use to cut it. You can use a knife, a bread knife, whatever you want. I'm gonna grab my pizza cutter and I'm gonna start cutting this and I'm gonna lay it. So I'm gonna layer these onto a piece of parchment paper and I'm just gonna start stacking it up so that as I'm adding them to the pot, I can do it all at one time instead of turning the dough out, adding it, turning more dough out. That way it's all gonna cook and be in the pot around the same time. So I'm gonna get some of this cleaned up. I'm gonna start cutting this and I'll be right back. No, it's okay. Okay, I just kind of keep them the same size. It's not really that big of a deal one way or another. And then I just layer them onto the parchment paper. So I'm gonna do this until it's all done, and then I'll bring you back when we're putting it in the pot. Okay, so once you have all of your dumplings that you want, you just start throwing them in one at a time, just like that. And they'll start to float to the top. And then after each layer, after so many, if you feel like you just need to give it a little stir, that's fine. Just be very gentle because the dough is still raw and it could break apart. And you just don't want to tear them up in there. But the flour that's on the little dumplings will add thickness to your broth here too. So we're going to continue putting in the dumplings until we're all loaded up, and I'll show you what it looks like once we're all done. As you're dropping your dumplings in, make sure that your heat is on high because it's going to bring the temperature down, and you want these to boil. And then once they're all in and they're boiling, you can turn it down to a medium heat and just let it simmer, and let those simmer for about 20 minutes. I just look at them, they get fat and puffed up. But yes, so that's what we're doing right now. Okay, one of the things I forgot to mention is that flour is self-rising flour. If you're going to be using just regular all-purpose flour, do not forget to add some baking powder to get plumpness in your dough. All right, so we're just gonna grab a bowl of this out. This is what it looks like. There you go. Chicken and dumpling soup. If you wanted to make your stock a little thicker, you could always add cornstarch in there, but we like it like this. It's good. And I'm gonna pair this, hold on, with a bit of homemade bread, just like that, and we're all done. We're gonna eat now. Looks good, looks great. Okay, so that's it. That's all there is to it. And dumplings really isn't that hard to make. It's just time consuming. It's not, like I say, it's not very hard. So anybody can do this. I will put measurements down below for your, so that you know what you're looking at before you get into it, and then you can just follow along with this recipe. So like always, please like and subscribe if you found this content to your liking. If you'd like to, you can subscribe to my Welcome to the Den daily vlog, where I give you a more little in-depth look at what I do during the day. Not every day, but some days. So that's gonna do it for me for now. I'll be coming out with lots more videos here soon, shortly. And if you like these, leave a comment. Let me know what you wanna see. I love to hear from you guys. So I'll see you in the next video.